Mikey mic check. You can hear me? Yes. Welcome, everybody, to the Chadev lunch. If y'all can all go ahead and have a seat, we'll go ahead and get started. Do we have any community announcements? Yes?
Hey guys, I'm Anna Sherman. I'm developer at Carbon 5 and I run Codex X, which is the women's tech group in town. Um, we are having an Elixir Bridge on October 19th and 20th. The 19th is going to be an install fest where you come and you get everything installed and ready to go. And then the 20th will be like an all-day workshop, and we'll be building some cool stuff in Elixir and Phoenix. So you should check that out. And then the next weekend, Friday and Saturday, is Gig City Elixir. It's a functional programming conference. So not just Elixir, we have people from Haskell and Clojure coming that are pretty big in the community. So you should check that out. And Startup Week is that whole week, I think the 20th through like the 28th. So you guys should check all of the events out. There'll be some great stuff going on. And also, Cha.js is October 17th. And yeah, I'll be doing a workshop on using Create React app to get started pretty quick with React projects and then intro to components. So you should check it out. These are all on meetup.com. So you go check out meetup.com, look up Cha.js, and that info's on there. For Gig City Elixir, I think if you just Google it, you'll find that. And then Elixir Bridge, there's URL pending.
Any more community announcements? Yeah.
Hey y'all, look how I've acclimated. Hey, at Audience Point, we're growing, doing cool stuff. We have some really interesting opportunities for sort of mid and senior level kind of C#.NET types. If you object-oriented, Java, those kind of things, we're happy to talk to you as well. Cool stuff. Would love to talk more. I think at this point I just wanted to float the need out there and see if there was interest. So grab me at some point if you want to talk more.
Anybody else have community announcements, meetups, anything? All right, I've got one. We have the Python meetup coming October 15th, I think it is. It's the third Monday of the month, so be sure to check that out. We also have a job opportunities channel in our Chadev Slack org, so definitely check that out. And we have a jobs page at chadev.com/jobs. It's kind of stagnant right now, but if you know of any jobs, definitely post them up there for everybody else to see. This month we're going to have Adam and me speak on Hacktoberfest and contributing to open source projects.
It'll be hard to tell when the lapel's on with this, but okay. So yeah, As last week I announced that since this is the month of October and DigitalOcean and GitHub is doing their Hacktoberfest for again this year, we decided to do a kickoff for this week's CHA-Dev lunch. Is it on? No. But anyways, so we're doing a kickoff this week, and we're working with Carbon 5 to try and piggyback with their Hack Nights next week to do the actual event. Our main goal is to help you try and get your first pull requests submitted by the end of that night, if not tonight. A couple of things before we get into this. If anyone has your laptop or anything and wants to do a challenge, if you can submit a pull request by the end of this talk, I have a DigitalOcean transfer sticker and one of the original CHA-Dev stickers to give out. So yeah, okay. I hear myself now. Awesome. All right. So to get things going with this, you're probably curious why you should even contribute to open source. There are various ways, various reasons anyways. One of them is to improve or develop new skills, whether it be technical or a soft skill or an interpersonal skill. All of that applies within open source. And one thing to note, anyone can contribute. So back in November of 2014, a 4-year-old made a contribution to the Linux kernel. It was a small change. It was just one line fixing documentation because she saw that this section here, all the way up to the R, had equal signs under them, but the S did not. And so she felt that S was sad. So she added an additional S to make it fit in with the others, and it got accepted. So a 4-year-old contributed to the Linux kernel. Why haven't you? So another reason is it helps you meet people that's interested in similar things. It doesn't even have to be about the technology or the product or whatever it is that you're contributing to. It can be just general conversations. You can make friends, whether it's someone that you've talked to online and just ran into at a conference or a meetup, or it's just a late night chat session and you're talking random things like discussing food or music or anything like that. It allows you to help find mentors to better yourself, and as well as allows you to be a mentor to help someone else. So you can help get someone into the project, or if it's someone still fairly new to trying to do what they're working on, you can get it. You can be there to help give advice, help point them in the right direction, things like that. It will also help you build a track record since all of your contributions are out in the open, and this could help with finding a better career or a new job because employers can go and see all of this stuff that you've done in the past, and they can look at that and go, yes, that is exactly the kind of person we want on our team, or they have the technical ability to be able to fulfill this role. It allows you to learn people skills, so it helps better conversations, helps allowing you to do better at talking, things like that, especially if you do a lot of conferences. Because if you do that, you're up there giving a lot of talks, and eventually you will get better at it. And it's just empowering. So even if it's just a small change, the fact that you can make a difference into a technology project or software program or just a community in general, it feels great. So
back to that one for a second. How many people have contributed to open source projects before? A couple? How many is going to after next week? More? All right. So I want to point out a couple things on this slide. It helps you grow your reputation and your career. I've been on a couple of job phone calls, and that's one of the questions that the people have asked is, have you contributed to open source? Can I see some of your code you've written? So definitely that's one of the big pluses about contributing to open source projects. The other one that I really like on this slide, was finding friends, new people that you're meeting.
Yeah, second bullet point, meet new people.
Yeah. So that's something that has helped me grow in my career and my development practices, was meeting new people and growing my skills like that. Me and Adam met through the beginning of CHA-Dev years ago. And I've met a ton of other people in the audience out here, so it's definitely, like, that's a huge plus.
Yeah, so yeah, CHA-Dev does fall under that community for it, so it does apply. So you might be asking, in what way can you contribute to an open source project or to open source in general? Well, there's a lot of other ways than just submitting code. Everybody, that's the first thing that they think of, but there are a handful of other ways to do so. So if you're a person that likes planning events, maybe you can organize or volunteer for a local meetup for a specific project or even a conference for it. And as was announced, there's an Elixir conference. I'm pretty sure they'll still be accepting volunteers for people working tables and just walking floors, helping people find things. So you can help with that conference. There are a ton of meetups here in Chattanooga that you can help out with. If you're a person that has an eye for design, maybe you can contribute a logo for the project or design a swag, t-shirts, stickers, things like that. Or you might be able to help them out with their website design, contribute wireframes, color palettes, things like that to help give a more unified look for the project throughout the different mediums that they have. If you like to write, technical documentation, writing the documentation on how to actually use the project is an area that is severely lacking and always looking for more people to contribute to. You could even go as far as writing blog posts on how you set up and got it working, or any other kind of tutorial. Or if you want to be more ambitious, maybe do like a newsletter for it, or in any other way to help get the word out for that project. If you like organizing or project management, you can go into the issue queue and start triaging, because there's probably old issues that's been sitting there for ages that can probably be closed out, or probably just need someone to go in and bump it, so then it gets refreshed into the developer's mind. Oh, this thing here needs fixed. Maybe there are duplicate issues that you can go through, link together, and weed out some of the duplicates in the issue queue, things like that. And of course, there's writing code. If you like helping people, maybe you can mentor or get in, help mentor people, or do some kind of help getting documentation out there to get someone started with a development environment or anything else they might need to be able to contribute further. And then if you like helping others code, you can probably go through and help with code reviews and things like that. So review pull requests, point out ways that someone could have done something better or find an issue. That's always an option to help. And just remember, open source isn't just software projects. There are entire books or even classes that are done in open source. A lot of MIT's and Harvard's computer science curriculum is online. It is open source. You can go through, look at all the assignments the teachers give, all the tests the teachers give, and you can probably help contribute, keep them current, keep it up to date, correct issues you find with it. So there are some things to help orient you to a new project when you get into it. So every project's going to be a little bit different in how it's structured, especially when you get into the bigger projects like Mozilla Firefox or Google Chromium or Linux kernel, things like that. They're all structured differently versus a small project with 1 to 5 people or however many. There'll be teams for things and things like that. So learning that structure will help. So then you know the correct people to go to for certain tasks. There's a common organizational structure in them. So you'll often have what's called an author or an owner. This is the person who owns the repository who initially started it. And then under them, you'll have the maintainers. These are set people who's either contributed long enough or has the owner's trust enough to give the mantle of basically everything the owner can do. And then you have under them, you'll have contributors. These are people who's contributed at least one or more things to the project. And then you have community members, because even end users are still important when it comes to the community aspect of open source. And then one thing to be aware, larger projects will have subgroups. So like the Linux kernel or the BSD kernels or anything like that, they'll have an entire team that does nothing but work on USB devices. And then it's important to review some of the common documentation, usually found at the root level of the project. Some of this is the license or copying file, and every open source project will have one. If there's not a license for the project, it's not open source. It's defaults to intellectual property to the repo's owner. So on top of the license, there'll be a README that will have just general documentation, general information. Further on, there'll be a contributing documentation. This will be stuff related to someone wanting to spin up a development environment and help contribute. And then usually there will be a code of conduct that's a good idea to review so you know what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable within the community. And then other ideas to look through are the issue tracker, pull requests, any discussion forum they may have, or synchronous chat. So then you can get a feel for how the project works, how things are resolved within the project, and other things like that. So how do you find a project that you'd want to contribute to? Here's a quote. Ask not what open source can do for you, but what you can do for open source. Kind of paraphrased from John F. Kennedy, but that bit's not important. So chances are you're already using at least one open source project in your day-to-day life. Whether it be an operating system or a web browser or a text editor or a programming language or whatever, you're using probably at least one. So if none of those projects are interesting to you, there are projects out there that help try and bring light other projects. So like GitHub has an Explore section. There is a newsletter called the Open Source Friday, where every Friday they just send out an email with like 4 or 5 new and interesting open source projects that you might want to do, or first timers only, or your first PR. These sites are more aimed for your first commit ever, so they're going to be very hand-holdy if you need it. And then code triage, pull 24 requests, and things like that, they're just general. These are projects out there that, hey, if it's something that you're good at, why not do it? And then some things that you want to check. Does the project meet a definition of open source? This is the second time I've brought this up because it's very important. You'll go on GitHub, look up something, you'll find a repository. It may not have a license, but you assume it's open source because you probably didn't know better. When it's actually not, it's proprietary, but the source is available. So always check for that before you make a contribution. Otherwise, you might find yourself in an interesting situation down the road. So there are 3 categories of an open source license. I'm not going to get into these in detail because that's a huge, huge rabbit hole. But you have the just FLOSS, FOSS, and OSS. There are differences in how they work. If you're interested in knowing more, feel free to ask me, and I'll help try and point you in the right directions for some of them. Others are weird. Is the project active? Is the owner or the maintainers or the contributors actively responding to issues, actively responding to pull requests in meaningful amounts of time? So not years and years out, but probably a couple months. It'd probably still be a reasonable bet. And then just generally, is the project welcoming? Because you don't want to walk into a giant flame fest where you submit something and then you just have people yelling at you for nothing. So always do your research on the community as well. Look into the message boards, look into the chat, and just evaluate the community. See if it's something that you don't mind being a part of. And that is for that. If you have anything else, otherwise we can switch into doing a short. So some of you raised your hand when Justin asked if you contributed to open source. Who here submitted at least one pull request? Okay. That's not bad. So for this, we will demo doing a pull request on our chadev.com website. Unfortunately, I already have one open, so I can't. I'll try and work around doing another one, but I already have a fork. It's been ages since I've used GitHub. This might be the easier way to get to it. Yeah, so I already have a fork, and I already have it cloned locally, so we can make a change. Let me switch to that real quick. All right. Yay, web browsing-based shells. So anyways, have the Chadev website here. It is I can also do origin. I just wanted to make sure, because that would show everything. But yeah, so it is my local copy, the Vindion/Chadev GitHub.io. So one suggestion was to get around the fact I already have an open is we'll just do a new branch. So I just created a new branch and switched to it. And if I go ahead and make a change, this might be slow. Yeah, all right. I worried about that. All right. So tell me when you can read the terminal here. Okay. So within this structure, we have a folder called devs, which is a bunch of markdown files that different people who decided that they wanted to show up on our devs page added a file here. So if I edit mine, so yeah, that's okay. The important bits are readable. Let me add a item here. URL real quick. Yep, there we go. That worked. All right, so this will add a new URL link onto my little card. I'll we can show what that is if need be. But have one change. Let me go ahead and stage it. And commit. Yep. GPG signing, fun. So do a little bit of secret sauce here. All right, so I have a new commit. All right, so it should be pushed up to my GitHub. So let's see here. Switch over to branch. Yeah, very creative name, but it shows. And if you were wondering why I had to put in this little device to get that little verified thing, because my commit is GPG signed, so that's a way to strictly say, I am the one that committed that. No one else can fake that they were me at that moment. But that bit's not important. But so here I can do a pull request. This will be interesting with the syntax for let's see if GitHub freaks out over that. All right, so I have a new pull request. It's open. And Justin over here is going to be kind enough to review this pull request for me, and he will either accept it or decline it. We'll see. It did? I was worried about that. Well, no, I think what he said is it accepted my other pull requests too. Oh, the other one. Okay. So we now have a license. It would show up another link here. I think it's still there, unless you backed it out. Yeah, see, it's already. But it's there, so. I don't know what you have to do for GitHub for their thing to kick off, but. If it's not here now, then I'll at least pull it up here to show that it got merged. Yeah, the data's there, it's just the site's going to have to be rebuilt on GitHub's backend. And that's just a quick, simple pull request. Yeah, that's.
Do we have any questions? Yeah.
And have to merge it in?
Yeah, so over here, Justin had his laptop, and he saw the pull request. Let me open up one of the other ones that are still pending. just to show. So yeah, we'll do this one. So on here, someone with the right privileges can see this merge pull request button. And once you do that, it will then merge it into this repository, which is what Justin did over here. And the data is immediately made here.
If I wanted to make my repository open source, is there a simple way to do that on GitHub?
So when you're doing it to make a new repository, GitHub makes that fairly simple, and I know GitLab does as well. But when you come in here and you can just, you create a new repo, you don't have to do a description, but you can go ahead and start it off with a license as well. So from this drop-down, they suggest a few already on here. So some of the common ones is the Apache license version 2, the GPL version 3, or MIT, but they have a bunch of others. So if you go ahead and select that, you already have a license that meets the FLOSS, FOSS, or OS category, and your repository will be open source.
Those are all open source then?
Yes, those are all open source licenses right there.
What if I accidentally created a repo and I forgot to add a license? Is there an easy way to do that there?
That gets a little bit trickier, especially if you had people contributing stuff already without a license, because at that point you are effectively relicensing. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but once you relicense it, you have to then go through and get approval from everyone who's already made a contribution before you've relicensed it, saying, this is now the new license. Do you agree with this, or do we need to do something, either back out your changes or do something? How do you want it handled?
So if I had created my own repo, though, and I was the only one contributing to it,
then you can relicense it, and as long as you're okay with the new license, you did that approval.
There's an easy way to do it in GitHub. I just
yeah, you just add a new file. So let me just go ahead and do this with create this repository with no file. You can even do this from GitHub's website here. So I don't know if it's going to let me here. But there, you can click here and add one if you already had an existing. Don't have another repository, I don't think.
Is it in settings, maybe? Can you change
No,
it
it's not in settings.
It's not in
right
settings.
here. You can. So
Okay.
I'll just do it here. So if you click the create new file and do a copying, it's going to pop up this button over here that says choose a license template. And you just go ahead and select it. Let's say we wanted this under this license. It'll give you a brief pros, cons, and everything about the license. And if you're okay with it, hit the green button, and your project is now licensed. So it shows over here, it's an MIT licensed repository.
So since that's a forked repository, what does it mean that you just added a license without asking anyone else?
So that gets complicated. Unless you do a pull request or a merge request, it doesn't affect anyone else. But if you, from this point on, if you do a pull request or a merge request, that license will get enforced on the project. So be careful about that.
Any more questions? Yep.
Have any general comments about choosing a license, MIT, GPL, preference?
That's getting into a little bit of that rabbit hole, because you have ones that are very viral. Once you put it in effect, it's going to affect everything else. So I don't like the GNU licenses for that aspect, because if you have a project that has a GNU license, everything else, any other library that touches your code has to either be the GNU license or a approved other license. So the GNU licenses are very viral, and they start affecting other things, and it gets very weird. Whereas you have the FOSS or OSS licenses, which don't do that. Examples of those are the MIT or the BSD licenses, where the original one can be under that license, but then someone can fork it and completely sub-license and make it proprietary, and it doesn't matter.
We got time for one more question. Anybody? Oh, did you already talk about free T-shirts?
Yeah, Hacktoberfest, if you get 5 pull requests, which, yeah, let me go ahead and pull that website. If you do 5 pull requests, they do not have to be accepted. They do not have to be merged at the end of the month. It's just if you get 5, and if you go to hacktoberfest.digitalocean.com is the website to sign up. Normally, there'll be a big sign in button here where it'll ask for your GitHub to do a GitHub authentication. But once you do that, they'll be pulling your pull requests. And if you get 5 by October 31st, you get a free T-shirt.
Awesome.
And our goal for next week is to help you at least get 1. That'll just leave 4 more.
All right, did anybody have any pull requests during this session, during this meetup? Nobody?
Stickers. Yeah, we can give it away anyways. I'll let you decide.
Whoever has one more question gets free stickers.
Ooh.
Now, I said to open a new branch to get around already having a pull request open. Does that count as contributing to this open source project that is the talk?
Yes, it did. I have 2 now because of this. The first one was the suggestion to add a license to the website, so it will be open source. And then the other one was this example, so I do have 2 of my 5. Yes. Yeah, and also there is a way for them to override. So if you, they can mark your pull request as invalid, and that will not count to here. Yep. I would recommend being very selective on the repos you use for that. Just one example of one to not do. One repo to not do that to is, let me find them on here. Do not do that on this repo. He's on vacation and he also stepped away from the project. That's a completely different matter. Let's not discuss that on record. But still, do not do a white exchange pull request to this repo.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam.
Yep.
We will see you all next week. Thank you. Yes, there is Hack Night next Wednesday.